Alright, let's talk numbers. No change from our usual, right? I mean, work wants out here after all. Except today, we're not going to focus on building trading systems. Rather, we're going to delve into how to build a full-time freelance trading business for yourself. Essentially, being able to live off of your passion and not have to answer to anyone but yourself. I'm gonna drop a few knowledge nuggets and truth bombs on you guys. So if you wanna make it happen in your life and follow the steps of someone who has actually been trading for a living for years, then strap in. I have some things to tell you. I want to start by telling you that trading full-time is nowhere near as glamorous as the BS that's plastered all over social media. Of course, you can theoretically trade from your laptop, from a beach, and in your swim shorts, but most of the time, that's not the life that's ahead of you. So if you still believe the charade that there's such a thing as passive income and trading 10 minutes a day to make a living, I suggest that you watch this video where I describe to you the actual life of a full-time independent trader. That should bring you back from the cloud of fake reality that scammers are painting on social media day in and day out. Don't get me wrong though, trading for a living is possible, but it's hard. That's why there are so few of us who manage to even put themselves in a position where they can momentarily make it happen, and even fewer like myself who are successful enough to thrive for years. Just to give you an idea, I retired from corporate trading and asset management at 40 years old. I have worked in multiple institutions, multiple countries, and with many traders and portfolio managers along the way. I do not, to this day, personally know one of them who managed to achieve retiring and solely living off of their trading profits. So if trading for a living is your goal, I don't want to discourage you, but that should tell you a lot about how tight-knit and elitist this group actually is. So, the first thing that you will need in order to trade full-time is experience. That is going to take a whole lot more than binging on a few YouTube videos, reading Amazon bestsellers, and drawing on charts for it to happen. That is because, in case you didn't notice, trading for a living means living off of trading, and that reality will pit the fluctuations of your expectancy against the urgency of paying bills. You will need to reconcile the whims of trading profits against the necessity for steady income. And that means if you are not experienced and quantitatively savvy enough, a lot of stress and the high probability of making terminal mistakes or catastrophic financial decisions when put under enough stress. You will need to not only know the behavior of your trading systems inside and out, you will also need to have the nerves of steel and absolute and total control over yourself. This cannot be taught by someone or a tutorial. Only experience and being put through the tension of extreme market phases can make you acquire that mastery. So what I'm implying here is no fake money demo account at all. You can't use a substitute for the real thing. Demo accounts are made to learn the nuts and bolts of a trading platform, not to gain trading experience. That experience can only be gathered by either trading real, meaningful money for years in your personal account, the kind of money where losses will actually hurt you, not some random $500 account. Or second option, you'll have to trade in a professional environment where you have to respond of your losses to either management or your clients. A bank, a fund, a prop firm are all good options for that. The bottom line is that you should never jump into the fire of trading for a living after reading a few books or just watching a few tutorials online. That would be absolute suicide. You need to gather first-hand experience of dire moments of equity drawdowns and what it takes to handle them in a fashion that will not obliterate your discipline and risk management. You need to put yourself in the line of fire and see how you can handle it. Most people assume that they can, but when in the fire, I can assure you that I have seen the toughest stalkers dissolve like snow under the sun when I worked in the industry, the so-called quote-unquote professionals, that is. Nobody can teach you that and galvanize you, not even me. Only you can acquire the toughness by actually doing it. Second thing you will need is to become full stack as a quant. What does that mean? It means that you will have to cover all bases of what your trading business entails. You cannot afford to only be good at such or such facet of your trading business. So even if you are world class at, say, math research, you will still have to at least build up a professional level of proficiency in those fields that are required to run a trading business. That is the understanding of theoretical market pricing mechanics, for example, or as I said, math research, but also coding, quantitative testing, data management, algorithmic execution, and back-office tasks such as trade logging, reporting, accounting, tax optimization, etc., etc. Once again, I'm urging you to watch that video where I run you through a typical trading day of mine for you to explore what it all implies. Now, of course, there is a debate as to whether you can ever become truly full stack. The answer is, if you mean becoming world class at absolutely every single thing, obviously not. You cannot become world class in every single area of expertise in a single life. But as I said, you can push yourself to become excellent at everything and still keep a dungeon of expertise on top of it all where hardly anyone can touch you. Now let's gloss over the third requirement real quick. I'm not going to dwell on this one because social media has blown this thing way out of proportion for no good reason other than marketing for scammers. I'm talking about your trading equipment as far as computers and monitors. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, your trading gear does not need to look like the cockpit of a space shuttle. These pictures that you see online with stacks of monitors are just a way for bozos who do not trade for a living to compensate for their lack of skills and knowledge. You don't need any of it. So if you're wondering about what it is that you actually need, watch this video where I go in depth about it. As you will see, the investment is minimal and the core of your expenses should not be allocated to 50 monitors. Rather, it should be on such more important things as data. It's all there for you in a single video, so go ahead and watch it when you're done with this one. Number 4, let it be said once and for all. Even if trading full-time can be extremely lucrative, it does not provide for a steady income. And that reality is going to clash with the fact that your bills need to be paid steadily, however. For that reason, and in order to keep your focus on what matters, you will need to free your mind and yourself from any worries as far as paying said bills. The best way to do it is to prepare your transition to trading for a living by making 3 personal finance moves that will likely take a while before you can make it happen. A, you're gonna need to get rid of all debts. That's right, that also means including your cars and your house. You're gonna need to have a roof over your head no matter what happens, and have no credit card company entitled to sucking the living blood out of you. Pay cash for everything going forward and make it a lifestyle. Realize that if you want to claim a life that no one else has, you're gonna have to adopt the habits of the few. B, you will have to build emergency funds, whether that is for your trading gear in case something breaks, for house repairs, and for your health. Everything should be covered ahead of time and reevaluated every year. Depending on where you live, the combined emergency fund covering all of these bases may range from $10,000 to $100,000, so think ahead. C, you will need to become proficient at making a budget projection and sticking to it. In order to solve that riddle, you will need to know a crucial combined statistic drawn from all your trading systems. That number is the maximum days of drawdown experienced by all your trading systems combined. From there, you will need to extrapolate a 3 to 5 standard deviation estimate and build upon that. So let me give you an example. Let's say that your backtest shows a maximum drawdown lasting for 8 months over the past 40 years. And let's assume that a 3 standard deviation moves from this number, puts it at 3 years. Well, if your annual budget is $50,000 to cover all your expenses, you will have to build a budget reserve of $150,000 to cover the 3 years in an extreme scenario of drawdown, even if historically what you really need theoretically was $33,000. That way, you know ahead of time that your lifestyle and financial commitments will be covered with a massive degree of certainty, even if the performance of your systems comes to sag for a while. And of course, it goes without saying that if you can find some free time to build extra sources of decorrelated income on top of your trading business, like, I don't know, repairing and flipping cars or like whatever you can do on the side, it's only a plus. Number 5. This is a point that is barely touched on when it comes to trading for a living, but it can make the difference between being able to make it happen and not being able to. I'm talking about choosing the correct jurisdiction from which you will work. The beauty about trading for a living is that you can virtually work from anywhere in the world. And with the brainwashing going on since our birth, most people assume that the West is the freest place in the world to do business. Let me tell you, not only nothing could be further from the truth, but once you start investigating, you will realize the crippling shackles that the West has imposed on its citizens, especially when it comes to taxes and regulations. And don't even get me started about the cost of living, okay? Probably the worst jurisdiction to trade for a living from, at least in the beginning where you have to budget and count everything, has to be the US. That is because you will have to deal with being classified as a professional instead of a regular investor, which implies tortuous accounting rules that will require hiring a costly someone to do it for you in most cases. absolutely unbearable self-reporting requirements with the IRS in case you deal with cryptocurrencies, extreme health insurance costs that will create a massive drag on your ability to survive, and especially the fact that being a US citizen or having a green card means that you will be liable for taxes to the IRS even if you move abroad. So you will have to investigate your specific situation, but in all likelihood, you will have to not only move abroad but also renounce your citizenship if you want to trade for a living before you reach retirement age. As for anybody else in the world, all it usually takes is to sell your main residence in your home country and become a resident in another country. That's it. Trust me, the benefits of moving and actually making the transition are absolutely immense in terms of cost of living, healthcare, and ease of accounting and tax filing, and much, much lower taxes. This move will prove to be absolutely crucial if you're serious about making trading your life goal. Without revealing too much about my personal situation, I can tell you that my cost of covering bills is like $15,000 per year where I am. My overall trading business tax rate is lower than 10%, and that's including socials, and I have zero headaches as far as filing goes since I am having someone do it for me for pennies on the dollar of what it would cost me in the West. All of these perks combined create a crazy positive pull on your mindset and peace of mind, all of which will compound into your trading results. Now, where are these favorable jurisdictions, you may ask? Well, they should be looked for in South America, Eastern Europe, and East Asia, many of which are hidden gems that fly under the radar of most popular expat destinations. So do your research and pick your flavor. And lastly, number 6, the first question that everyone always asks when it comes to trading for a living, but which is the last building block of the exercise, is how much capital do I need? My answer to you is it depends on 3 personal factors. The first one is A, how much can you yield without leverage from your capital? Then B, what jurisdiction will you be trading from? Once again, remember, it's not so much about how much you can make, it's more about how much you get to keep after costs and taxes. And C, depending on the cost of living or where you are, how much money do you need to sustain the lifestyle that you aspire to? You need to keep in mind that you should be able to have enough to both cover your expenses and grow your capital over time and still have some extra room to spare for unforeseen events, which will inevitably happen. As a rule of thumb, I like my expenses to not amount to more than 25% of my expected net profit after taxes. So let me show you how you should count in reverse here. Start from your expenses and extrapolate back to your trading capital. Let's assume that you spend $50,000 a year, and you will pay short-term capital gains tax of 30%. It would mean that you would need to make about $71,500 before tax to just cover your expenses, which, if that amount sticks to my 25% rule, would imply that you need to yield about 4 times that in a year on average, or about $285,000. So if you can yield a 20% CAGR on average, which would be very respectable if preserving your capital and not going crazy with leverage is your goal, which it should be if you want to have lasting power in this business, then you would need to have about 1.4 mil as a starting capital. See how it works? You calculate that in reverse. So I hope this video clarified this topic once and for all. Trading full-time is not rocket science, but it does require a mountain of building your trading proficiency ahead of time, likely for years, and then a lot of thinking ahead prior to cutting the cord with the corporate world and actually making the solo move. I'm not gonna lie, it is hard, it's very hard. A lot of people pretend that they can or will do it, but very, very few will ever attain that goal. But if you do manage to make it happen like I did, you are setting yourself up for an amount of freedom that you never imagined could ever be obtained. Living life in your own terms, not compromising your soul for the sake of money, setting your family financially free for life, and enjoying the good times in the meantime while doing something intellectually stimulating that you love. And there's truly no price tag to put on that. So if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like to help push this content to other traders who need realistic, non-clickbaity content to mentor them along their journey. And better yet, subscribe to this channel as I have a lot more coming along in the next trading education series. I'll talk to you in the next one.